In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the rear wheel bearings on this BMW X5. These are going to be located behind the rear brakes. Let's get into it. Now we're going to remove the wheel, use a 19mm socket. Take the lug bolts out. And before I take the last one, I'm just going to hold the wheel from falling. Take that out, grab the wheel, and pull it off. There's a level sensor right here. We want to disconnect that from the lower control arm. Use a 9mm wrench on the back side, 10mm socket. Take this nut off. Slide that out of the way. Now using a 16mm socket, we're going to take the caliper bracket and the caliper off altogether. Pull it out of the way. 16mm socket, take these bolts out. Take the caliper off. And I'm just going to use a caliper hanger and just attach it to the coil spring out of the way. Take this screw out, use a 6mm hex socket. Now pull the rotor off. I'm going to take this nut off. It is peened over a little bit, so I'm just going to use a chisel and just try to bend it back just a little bit. Do the best you can. You'll still be able to get it off, but it just makes it a little easier. Same on the bottom. There we go. We're going to use a 36mm 12-point socket. Take the nut off. I'm going to take a punch and a hammer. Just try to tap the axle free from the hub. There it goes. There's different types of pullers you can use to get the hub off. We're going to use a slide hammer. Just going to separate it from the bearing. There we go. I'm going to use a floor jack. Just raise up the lower control arm, take some of the pressure off the shock, and then we're going to take this shock bolt out. Use a 21mm wrench on the nut, 21mm socket. Take the nut out. Pull the bolt out and separate the shock. Now using a 24mm wrench on the nut and a 18mm socket, take this bolt out. gonna lower the jack a little bit, pull the bolt out. If it's easier that way. There you go. It's out. I'll just lower the jack. We're going to loosen this nut and bolt up, but before we do that, we just want to mark this eccentric washer. This is, the purpose for this is for alignments. You're going to have to get an alignment after you're done, but if you just mark this, it's going to be a lot closer than if you didn't. Use an 18mm socket, loosen this bolt up. That's good. We're not going to take it out completely. Using a 18mm wrench on the bolt, 21mm socket. I'm going to take this nut off completely. Take that washer off. Let's use a straight blade screwdriver just to help pry this off. There you go, pull that off. And using a punch, just hammer this bolt out. Just going to use a pull jack on the knuckle, just raise it up slowly, just so you can clear the bolt from the axle. Pull that out. And this knuckle, you can pull that out, slide that out of the way. Now we'll just lower the pull jack. Now we're going to take these bolts out. Use a E14 socket. You can use a pry bar. Just pry this back a little bit so you have a little room. There we go. All right, all four of those. And I'm going to use a pry bar. You could use a punch from the back side and just hammer it out forward. Just popped right out. And just grab the wheel bearing and it comes right out. You might have to just move the parking brake shoes out of your way a little bit. Now we're going to remove the race from the hub. You can use different types of pullers. If you can get a clamp type puller around, try to pull that off, or you can try slicing it with a grinder, or even using an air chisel, just push it from the backside. We're going to actually heat it up with a torch. Now we're going to press the hub onto the wheel bearing. We want to set it up just like this, where the threaded portion is like this, where it's going to bolt onto the knuckle. And then we want to press from the center. You don't want to press from the outside. So I'm actually going to take the old race, and we can put that in the center right there. And just press it down. And it's all the way down. And that's what it should look like. Just going to use a wire brush and just clean up some of the rust here. Take the hub and bearing, I'm gonna go over the axle. I'm gonna have to twist it back and forth a little bit or pry out on the parking brake shoes. There we go. Just try to get it to line up. There we go. Looks good. Reach behind and get some of the bolts started. I left the 2 top bolts in, so they're already all set in place. And get the bottom bolt started. All right, there we go. Those are all started. And just start tightening this down. Now we'll torque these bolts to 73 foot-pounds. That's good. Just tap the axle back in place a little bit. Just going to use a rubber mallet. And put the axle nut on. It's recommended that you replace the axle nut. We'll tighten this down. Then we'll torque that later. Swing the lower control arm up. Try to get it lined up. And just tap it in place. Oops. Going to use a pull jack just to help me out a little bit. Get the bolt started. If you need to, you can raise up on the knuckle area. Get the axle out of the way a little bit. There we go. Once you get it past the axle, then you can lower the knuckle. There we go. Just raise that up a little bit more. Right there. All right, made it through. Lower the pull jack. I'll put that washer on. We're gonna have to flip that around. Try to get your mark to line up. Looks good there. And put the nut on. Get that started. We'll just snug this up, not too tight. We're gonna have to torque this later when everything's all back together. That's good. Pull down on the control arm. If you need to, use a pry bar. Just get this to line up. Get that started. Tap that in place. Put the nut on the other side. All right, using a floor jack, just raise up the control arm. Get the shock to line up. All right. Put the shock bolt through and the nut on the other side. Tighten this down. Now we're going to torque this bolt to 94 foot-pounds. That's good. Tighten this bolt down. Now we're going to torque this bolt to 120 foot-pounds. Lower the floor jack. Now put the rotor on. Get that lined up. Put this screw in. Snug it down, not too tight. Take the brake caliper. Get it lined up. And go over the rotor. Get the bolt started. And get the top one in as well. Tighten those down. Now we're going to torque these bolts to 49 foot-pounds. Now you're going to raise up the suspension. I'm just using a pull jack. You want to get it as close to ride height as possible and still being safe, because we're going to torque these bolts on the lower control arm. You want it as close as possible to ride height. Make sure this is lined up with your mark. Then we're going to torque this to 92 foot-pounds. Now tighten this bolt down. We're going to torque this to 74 foot-pounds. Now we're going to put the sway bar link in. If it's easier, you can lower the suspension, lower the pull jack. And get this lined up. Slide it in up top first. And down below. That's good. Get the nuts started. Snug these down. Torque these to 45 foot-pounds. That's good. Lower the pull jack. And take it out of the way. Take the level sensor, push the stud through, get the nut on. And we'll tighten this down. Snug that down. Take two of the lug studs, get those started. And just put a pry bar in between just to prevent the hub from spinning. Now we're going to torque the axle nut to 310 foot-pounds. And remove the bolts. Now take a chisel or a punch and just where the nut, where there's little notches on the axle, just peen this over. That's good. Now install the wheel. That lined up. And get the lug bolt started. And put the other lug bolts in. Snug those down. Now I'm going to torque the lug bolts to 111 foot-pounds in a cross pattern to tighten the wheel down evenly. Just go around again, double check. After finishing this installation, it's important to have an alignment done on your vehicle.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.